This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
I absolutely love the X100 series, and this perspective is almost like you're a little bit disappointed in your favorite child. Even though people will say they don't have a favorite child, they definitely do. This is certainly the upgrade we didn't need. In this video, I want to talk about the experience using the camera, and yes, I will touch on the specs a little bit, but practically, what is it actually like to use? Actually, I can just say it now and save you from watching the entire video. The experience of using the X100VI was no different to using the X100V. The experience was literally exactly the same. I have personally been using the X100V for nearly 3 years for street photography and just everyday stuff. I love the camera and I think it is almost perfect. And the reason I emphasize on the word almost is because no camera is perfect, and I don't think any camera will ever be perfect, but you can get pretty damn close, and the X100V gets very close. The reason the X100V isn't perfect is because of a few minor quirks, and that might differ from person to person and experience to experience, but things like the battery life being a little bit rubbish, the camera not being weather sealed 100%, the autofocus being a little bit finicky. These are issues that seem to come up when people talk about wanting the X100V to be better. Those things haven't really been improved on the X100VI. First of all, the battery is exactly the same in the X100VI as it is the V, and for me, a full day of street photography would mean taking at least 2 batteries, and I would easily fly through those, so most of the time I have 3 batteries on me, no change there. The X100VI also isn't weather sealed, and I haven't noted this here, you need an extra kit to make it 100% weather resistant. You need an AR X100 and a PRF 49. Together, that will make the X100VI weather sealed. I will caveat this by saying, I did use the X100VI on a rainy day in London. I had no issues, and I've never had any issues with the X100V where weather is concerned. So this might not be a problem, just use your common sense. Maybe don't dive into a swimming pool with the camera in your hand. I think that might be an issue. Just quickly touching on the autofocus regarding the X100VI. Felt exactly the same as the X100V, and I'm not going to do a deep dive analysis into the science on what the X100VI is doing compared to the X100V. It might genuinely be better, but this is just coming from a real world experience, and I just want to talk practically with you right now. The autofocus felt exactly the same, so that's all I can give you.
Before we dive into the upgrades we did get and the specifications in more detail, I want to share with you today's sponsor, Squarespace. I have been using Squarespace long before they became sponsors of this channel, and if you're a photographer who wants to look more professional and take your business to a new level, I cannot recommend them enough. I have been using Squarespace to host my photography portfolio, selling products, writing weekly blogs, and even my newsletter. I even created a whole blog about the X100VI and the JPEG film simulation I created. This page was super straightforward and easy to create. I did it in a matter of minutes. Squarespace has hundreds of beautiful templates for you to choose from, so designing your website has never been easier. Why not at least start a free trial and see what you think? After that, when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MikeChudley to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now, let's get back to the video.
Now let's talk about the upgrades we did get, which would be 40 megapixels and IBIS. They seem to be the main 2 talking points this year. I can keep this one short. Do we need them? No. Are they helpful? Yeah, maybe. Here's some more thoughts on the IBIS specifically for those thinking it might be worth the upgrade altogether. And maybe it is, I don't know your use case, I could be wrong, but here's some honest thoughts. I'm never going to use an X100 for video, and I don't think many people will. They are certainly photography-focused cameras, which also makes me think that the new X100VI shoots in 6K, but uses the same battery as the older model. That can't be a great combination, can it? This is where I think comments incoming will say something along the lines of, yeah, but people want a hybrid video, photo, travel camera. Sure, this will do that, but it's a bit like the Leica Q series having video capabilities. Come on, no one's really using it for anything decent. Talking about IBIS, where photography is concerned, we now have the ability to take slow shutter speed photographs handheld without the need of a tripod and get usable results. I did get one photograph I like at a slow shutter speed on the street. And this is a very clear example of me using the IBIS to my advantage. I think this was shot at about 1/15 of a second, so there's no way without the IBIS I would have been able to get this photograph. So there's a clear example of, okay, well, the IBIS is worth the upgrade because I was able to get a photograph I wouldn't have otherwise been able to get on any other camera without IBIS. But for a whole new price increase, I got one image. So if that's how you want to judge it, I personally don't think that that one image is worth the extra £300 retail cost. If the X100VI is £1,600 and the X100V retail is £1,300, IBIS, is that worth £300? Maybe it is to you. I definitely don't want this video to sound like I'm being too much of a Debbie Downer, and I understand I might sound a little bit grumpy about the X100VI, but the upgrade is minor. And I love the X100V. I think that camera is truly brilliant. But for a whole new model release and the hype and the price increase, this just feels like an X100V Mark II. So here's my conclusion on if people should upgrade to the X100VI or even buy the X100VI. And I'm gonna hold my hands up here. I'm just a dude on the internet giving you unsolicited advice. You definitely don't need to listen or should listen to me. I just wanna give you some honest thoughts. If you have an X100F, or even you've never owned an X100 camera before, then the X100VI is a great option. You're probably going to love it. But if you have an X100V, then I feel like upgrading to the X100VI might be a little disappointing. Let's end this on a positive note, and I think the best thing about the X100VI being released is just the availability of the X100 series in general. We all know how difficult it has been getting our hands on the X100V over the last few years. Well, now they're making new ones, so if that's within your budget, then getting a new one is a good option. And if you still don't want a new one and you want a V, well, perhaps there are more X100Vs on the second-hand market. So just the fact that a new release probably gets stock moving around the market, I think that's a good thing. And if you wanted an X100 camera, you might be able to get one now. So I think that's a good thing. With everything I've said in this video, from opinions to criticisms, I'm just a guy that likes taking photographs, and I am not a camera manufacturer. So what do I know?